Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna, and we have reached the mid of June. And what does that mean? That means that we are going to be doing the mid-year book tag. I love doing this tag. I did one last year, and it's just a really cool way of seeing just how many books we have read, because sometimes we kind of forget how many books we've read and how productive we actually were, and that is always the case for me. I just love seeing everything that I've read so far, and I've read 19 books this year, which is crazy. I don't think I've read as many books in half a year than this year, which is crazy. And I always felt like I was reading at such a slow pace, but I've read 19 books, which is insane. It's more than some people can tell. But without further ado, let us start this mid-year book tag. And the first question is, best book you've read so far this year? And this one, it's so easy to answer. It has to be Daughter of the Forest by Julie Merlier. This was a 5-star for me. And I actually read this last month, which is insane because it was my first 5-star of the year. And it's still my only 5-star so far. And I just love this. I did speak about this pretty recently on my May wrap-up, so I'm not going to, talk too much about it. But I just absolutely love this book. I love the setting. I love the vibes. I love the writing. Everything was just so beautiful, lyrical. I don't know, every time I think about this book, I just have a smile on my face because the story was beautiful. It's a story about love. It's a story about many types of love, because you have sibling love, you have parent love, you also have romantic love, friendships, you just have so many different types of love, and how love can truly heal so many wounds, even the deepest wounds in the soul. Love always finds a way to heal everything, and I absolutely love that theme. I love the way the author just described nature and how it can be healing at times, just everything about her writing was 10 out of 10. I cannot stress that enough. It is such a good, amazing writing. And obviously, I'm going to read all of her books because it was just amazing, And I really do think that Julie Merlier can be one of my favorite authors of all time, because I just love the way that she just talks about everything. It's just so soft, There's not really another word that I can say other than soft. She treats these themes with such care and tenderness that I've never seen before. So definitely, this one is the best book that I've read so far. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far this year. And honestly, I have not read many sequels, which is so strange for me, because usually I am always up with series, but I don't know why, I just have not read many sequels. And the only sequel that I've read, and hold on, I'm gonna get in. It was actually a third book, so it's a last installment, but you can count this as a sequel in my opinion, which is Empire of the Dawn by Jay Kristoff. I read this back in January, so right at the beginning of the year, I finished this trilogy, and honestly, I enjoyed it. It was a solid 4-star. I didn't quite enjoy the ending because I think this ending should have been much more dramatic than it actually was. I was expecting so much more suffering and gore from Jay Kristoff, and it actually wasn't, which, it's fine. It's not a bad ending, but I was expecting a lot more consequences, because this world is grim, it's dark, it's gory, all of these vampires, they don't have mercy upon humans in any sort of way, so I was expecting a very harsh ending, but it was still a wonderful surprise from book 2, because as you know, I did not quite enjoy book 2. It was a 3-star, it was just okay, nothing really happened in book 2, it was a lot more, just character development because of the way this book was going to be written, so I do understand that in book 2, you needed to have that character development and that work, but I was left disappointed, and I am glad to say that this third installment and last installment wasn't a disappointment. I actually enjoyed it. It's a 4-star, so yeah. Third question. New release you haven't read yet, but want to. So there is one new release that I have to read, and I think I'm going to read it next month, so in July, which is The Red Winter by Cameron Sullivan, I think. And I'm just very excited about this one because if you don't know this about me, I love listening to scary podcasts, just scary channels. I love listening to those things. I don't know. There's just something that, just draws me in. I just really like the horror of it all and the creepiness. And of course, I have read about the Beast of Gévaudan. I don't know how to pronounce it, but let's just pretend that we know how to pronounce it, okay? And I just love that tale. It is such a cool legend to have this sort of weird creature that is maybe a werewolf or just a big giant wolf hound that has been around for centuries in this one village, which is called Gévaudan. So I am really intrigued by this book. I've only heard great things about this, and I do think that people are enjoying it. I do enjoy the fact that it is a standalone, so I'm not starting any new series, and I'm just excited for this. I'm expecting a lot of winter, obviously, the Red Winter, so I'm expecting a lot of cold, just some harsh environments, snow, winds, just storms, and obviously I am expecting some gore, but I have heard that this is sort of historical fantasy because he does take a lot from the accounts of the village of Gévaudan and the people there, so I'm just very excited, okay? And I do have to read this. I don't know how I've not read it yet, but this one is definitely going to happen next month. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now, this question is always hard for me to answer because there's usually not many books I'm excited for. And the reason for this is because I am focused on reading a lot of backlist books. You know, I'm reading a lot of books that are popular already or that most people have already read because, you know, I've only started reading consistently since 2021. So I do have a lot of backlist books to get to. But there is actually one book that I'm very excited, which is Deadbeat by Leigh Bardugo, the third and final book in the Alex Stern trilogy. I am very excited for this. You know, this trilogy, it's not amazing by any means. I've given, you know, the first 2 installments 4 stars. So I am expecting, you know, just the quality to stay the same. I don't know where the story is going, but I am excited because in this book, you know, everything is just so creepy. I just love it. Everything is creepy. It's eerie. We have the secret societies. We have some weird ghost magic, paranormal stuff going on. And the second book, it did have some pacing issues in my opinion. There were a few plot lines that I didn't really understand what they were doing there, and they only connected, you know, around maybe 60 to 70% of the book. So until then, I was a little bit bored, but there are a lot of stuff that happened in the second book that I'm just like, okay, how is this going to wrap up? Like, how is everything going to end well? It's not. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not going to end well, but I'm very, very excited for Deadbeat, and I absolutely love the cover. You know, the covers of this are so creepy. The first one is a snake, the second one is a weird bunny, and the third one is going to be an owl. Just look at this cover. It's stunning. It's amazing. It's giving, you know, the eerie and the creepiness that I really, really want from these books, and obviously a little bit more of Dark Academia. I am expecting a little bit more of Dark Academia because you had much more of that subgenre in the first book, so I am expecting maybe, I don't know if I should be expecting, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would love to see a little bit more of Dark Academia in this third installment. But this book, I am so excited for it. I love the cover, and I just hope that it matches my expectations. Question number 5. Biggest disappointment. This one has to definitely be She Who Became the Sun by Shirley Parker Chan. I genuinely thought that this was going to be a 5-star book for me because it has everything for me to love it. You know, we follow this young girl that she literally stole her brother's life. So this is not a spoiler. This happens right in the beginning of the book. She lives with her older brother and her father, and they live in a very decrepit village. They are starving. They have nothing to eat. And his father always looked out for her older brother and never her because he is a man. In this world that is very much inspired by Chinese, I don't want to say medieval times, but you know, back in the day in Chinese times, obviously they did not respect women at all. They didn't see women as being useful. So her father always deemed that her older brother was going to be great. He was going to have a life of greatness. But tragically, they actually pass away. And she steals her brother's identity because she's like, no, I'm going to have the life of greatness. So she really carves out a path for her. So as you probably can tell, this is a completely different day. You know, yesterday I was filming, but then I had a very unexpected errand to go to, so I just had to stop filming, and now I'm continuing. This is the next day, and I know I am wearing the same shirt, but I promise you it does not smell bad. You know, yesterday I just used that shirt to film the video and go and do my errand. So that was all, okay? I promise I do wash myself, so do not worry. This shirt is going to be washed today. And I did do my nails, you know, different. I chose red, and that's why you can tell that my hair is different, you know, just everything is different. But here I am continuing the video, and I was talking about how She Who Became the Sun was a big disappointment for me because despite the premise sounding amazing and despite it being a book that I genuinely thought I was going to love, it did not land for me, and it actually became a 3-star book. You know, it's just very meh. It's not a bad book, but it's just meh compared to what I had in my mind. And the reason for that, it's because of the writing. The writing felt very clunky. You know, of course, we do have to have time jumps throughout the entire book because we are following Zhu's journey into becoming someone great. So I do understand the time jumps, but in my opinion, they were just so abrupt and they made the story feel a little bit clunky. And I genuinely thought we were only going to follow Zhu as our main character, but we followed 2 other characters. And although I do enjoy their point of view, they weren't there for anything. You know, they didn't really have a reason to be there, and it was just a repetition of what the author was trying to say, in my opinion. You know, these 2 characters are also female, or one of them, you know, he is a man, but his genitalia was cut off, so he is seen just as a woman, you know. And I really enjoyed that one perspective of how he is being treated like a woman. He hates it, he despises it, you know, but it is something very interesting to follow and to see his mindset and just how he treats everybody around him, how everybody around him treats him. It's very fascinating, but it was just a repetition repetition of what the author was already exploring with our main character, Zhu, you know? So everything just felt very repetitive, especially the theme of greatness. You know, the author just kept reminding us every single chapter that Zhu was trying to be great. Zhu was, you know, striving for greatness. She was trying to do her very best to become someone important, someone that had a big destiny, just like her older brother would have had. And it was just so boring because I was like, I get it. You know, I get it. You don't have to tell me every single chapter that this is what our main character wants, that this is what our main character is trying to achieve. I remember it, you know, and that is why I just really didn't enjoy the book. The writing was what failed me in this book. Question number 6. What was your biggest surprise? And for this question, I actually have to go to A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I was actually very surprised by this book. It's not great or amazing by any means. You know, I did give this a 3.5 star, but I actually went into this expecting not to enjoy it as much or to find a lot of flaws with this book, but I didn't. Like, legitimately, I did not. I actually very much enjoyed the setting of the school because this entire book is set inside a magical school where there are no teachers. You know, just no teachers, no adults whatsoever. You only have students, and then you just have a bunch of monsters that are roaming around this school, which make everything so much more interesting. And you could really tell that this is a very dangerous school. It's very hard to survive in here because you just have to check for everything. You know, they, on their day-to-day basis in the school, they have to check for the bathrooms. They have to check their bedroom. They have to pay attention to which paths they go to. Even when they're going to the canteen, they have to check the food, the plates, or when they choose a table, they have to choose a table that is closest to the exit in case something happens. They always have to walk around with somebody because then the monsters are less likely to attack you. That really was well done. I just really enjoyed that part. It really felt dangerous to me, you know? I generally thought that it wasn't going to be that dangerous or, you know, the premise was overreacting, but it really did not. I could truly feel the danger in this school, and I actually did enjoy the plot. Our main character, Elle, she is quite annoying because she does have dark powers, and they are very, very hard to control, and that's why she doesn't really use her magic, because if she uses one of her spells, she has a big chance of destroying, you know, an entire school or killing other students, and that is something that she doesn't really want to do. But she's also very arrogant because she is quite powerful. The problem is she can't really use those powers, and not only that, you know, in the beginning of the book, she is saved by, you know, let's just say her love interest many, many times. Like, I think she's saved by him for, 4 times? And it really does become annoying when she is constantly berating him for that. She's constantly berating him for trying to help other people, trying to rescue other people, and especially her because she does have an image to maintain. And she's just so arrogant, and for no reason. She does have a reason, but because you can't really see her use her magical abilities until the very end of the book, or until at least the midst of the book, you don't really believe that she is that all-powerful, and she's just being annoying, quite frankly, and I did find her quite annoying. She does grow throughout the book, which is nice. She is less annoying at the end, but still, it was kind of hard to, you know, just really understand Elle and understand where she does come from, because, I don't know, man, she was just being very, very annoying and arrogant for absolutely no reason. But I was still surprised by this book. You know, I am actually interested in reading the sequel, and I do have to remind myself to read the sequel of this book, but I really wasn't expecting to enjoy this one as much as I did. Question number 7, favorite new author? And of course, I do have to go with Julia Merlier. As you know, I love Daughter of the Forest. I just think her writing is her strongest suit, in my opinion. Like, her writing, like I said, is just beautiful, lyrical, it's soft, and she deals with themes in such a good way. I absolutely love it. So, of course, for this year, she does have to be my favorite new author. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. Now for this one, I actually don't. Okay, I don't have a new fictional crush. It's actually very, very hard for me to have fictional crushes, and I actually don't know why. So for example, with anime, it's very easy. Like, I'm not kidding you. I have so many crushes when it comes to anime. It's actually crazy and insane, and it's so hard to keep up with all of them. But when it comes to books, I find it so hard to have a fictional crush. I don't understand why. Like, I just really don't understand why, because I do enjoy the descriptions, I enjoy everything, but there's just always something missing for me, so it is not surprising that this year I didn't find any fictional crush. Question number 9, newest favorite character. And of course, I do have to go for the protagonist of Daughter of the Forest, which is Sorka. I loved her. You know, she starts as a 13-year-old, and you do end up with her being 16, so it's not really, you know, a huge, big age difference, but I just really loved her character because I do love a good female main character who is badass, and she knows how to fight with swords or fight in any sort of way, but I especially love strong characters that don't really have that skill of fighting, because you can be strong in so many different ways, and I would love to see, you know, a male version of this as well. But yeah, that's why I just really love Sorcha, because she just had this mental fortitude to continue pushing forward even when everything was just going badly, when everything was just going against her. She felt like she was alone in the world, but she still kept her hopes up. She still was strong enough to continue with her task, because it was a very, very difficult task to bring back her brothers who were cursed. And I just really admire that strength, I just really admire that, and how resilient she was just when she was just 13 years old, which is insane in my opinion. 13, 14, 15, especially with all of the things that happened to her in that book. Insane. I just absolutely love her, and I really want to see more female characters like her. Question number 10. A book that made me cry. Unfortunately, no book made me cry this year. I know. I'm not really a big crier when it comes to books generally, but every single year there is a book that does make me cry. But for some reason, 2026, none. Really don't have a book that has made me cry. Question number 11. A book that made me happy. Now, this one might be a very, very strange choice, but I'm going for The Promised Neverland, volumes 9, 10, and 11. These were the ones I read this year, and this is not a happy story by any means. Okay, this story is actually quite dark, but these 3 volumes I absolutely enjoyed. It was very stressful. It was very stressful reading these 3 volumes, because our main characters were put in a position that was just very stressful. All of their lives were at stake. Either they won this, or they would all die. So it was very stressful. But the reason why this made me happy was because they have succeeded. It's not really a spoiler, because you do have 23 volumes with these characters. So it's not really a spoiler that they succeed at this mission. And I was just left absolutely happy after reading these 3 volumes, because our main characters, they just surprised me in so many ways. And the fact that they finally overcome this obstacle, and they are one step closer into their goal and getting everyone to safety and everyone surviving, it just made me happy. Okay, it just made me really, really happy that they managed to escape this situation with everyone surviving, which is insane to even think of. Question number 12. The most beautiful book you've acquired this year. So there was actually only one book that I bought myself this year, and that was The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. And of course, yeah, it's gorgeous. I really, really absolutely love this cover. That is why I actually chose this book, and I'm actually very excited to start this. This is a part of my June TBR, in the sense of I really do want to start this book in June. I don't want to finish it in June. I just really want to start reading it in June, because I know that if I don't start it this month, I'm not going to read it, because I am way too scared. But look at this cover. It's just stunning. I just love all of the colors. I love the fact that the deeper you go, the darker the red is. Stunning. And last but not least, what book do you need to read before the year ends? So as you know, I started Assassin's Apprentice back in January. Okay, January. So this was supposed to be a buddy read with my boyfriend, and we actually read 2 chapters together. And then I continued reading, but he never really continued reading. And, he just told me, Anna, I'm not enjoying it. I read 2 chapters. I'm not really invested in the story. I don't feel like reading it. So I was like, okay, fine. No problem. I'll just continue. But then I never continued. That is the problem. I just never continued. So, and the worst part is that it wasn't even because I wasn't enjoying it, because I genuinely was. I just stopped reading it, and I kind of forgot about it. So this year it is going to be read, and actually I am already currently reading it, and I am 68% through, and I'm enjoying this so much. I love Robin Hobb's writing, and she could be, potentially new favorite author for me as well, because her writing is just stunning. There are so many quotes that I absolutely love, so many quotes that I have underlined, and I'm very, very excited to see where Fitz is going. I don't know if I want to say if I'm excited, because everything is suffering. Literally, everything is suffering with him. So I don't know if I'm excited or not, but I do hope good things are coming his way, because he deserves it. Okay, Fitz deserves it, but this book is definitely going to be read this year. And that is it, guys. These were all of the questions of the mid-year book tag. Like I said, I love doing this book tag. It is just so much fun, and you can just really tell how many books you have read so far. And like I said, 19 books. It's actually insane. And you can also tell how your reading year has gone. And unfortunately, 2026, it's not a bad reading year by any means. I am reading outside of my comfort zone a lot more, which means that, I am getting some 3 stars here and there because of that. But I actually do not regret it one bit, because I do think I need a break from fantasy a little bit. But other than that, my reading year, it has gone well. It hasn't gone horrible, and I did find a 5-star, which is nice, because I generally thought I wasn't going to find a 5-star in time for this video, but I'm so glad that I did. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does help my channel out a lot, and it gives me a lot of motivation and validation to continue filming these videos for you guys. And I will see you on my next video. Bye!